Previously on Balls.
Bollocks! It's the big PSL kickoff this weekend, Friday. Chiefs against Aces, promoted, and Mpumalanga Black Aces. Clive Barker in charge, 18 new signings. One of the things that you have to worry about in those situations is how do you bet on games like that? And we're going to go straight to our backers, www.tokodds.com, and we're going to speak to Brandon. And Brandon, Brandon, is that you?
Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, Brandon, nice to speak to you, mate. We've been talking, for the past hour and a bit with various people about how the first week of the PSL will go, the big kick-off this weekend. Sadly, Super Rugby has fallen away for South Africans, given the Blue Bulls over the weekend. The cricket hasn't gone very well, but we've got PSL this weekend. I'm going through www.tokodds.com. I've scrolled down the left-hand green menu to Soccer International, clicked on there, and then I find Soccer International, PSL. I click on there, I'm doing that right now, and I find all this weekend's games. Brandon, what can you tell us? Where's the best value in this weekend's football? Obviously, Kaiser Chiefs, the double winners against Aces. What do you think?
Chiefs. I did my money on Chiefs last season. I mean, I told you in a couple of shows back that I like to follow the draw in the PSL, and they won a few games last season. Yeah. So. Like you say, they are the winners. But I'd like to have a look at this Maritzburg and Polokwane City. I don't know how much you know.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
Polokwane
yeah,
City.
Go on.
New guys in the league.
Yeah.
And if you have a look at the prices there, I mean, Maritzburg United, you can get some even money from Lance Michael, Allen Bookmaker.
I saw that, yeah.
World Sports Betting offering 8 to 10. That might be a little bit of value. I mean, maybe Polokwane City, first time under the big spotlight, they might falter. What do you think?
Polokwane City came to our attention heavily last season when 4 of their players, as we said earlier, were killed driving back from a game in the NFD. They went on with great public sentiment behind them to win the NFD. Then there was the big court case. Finally, last week, we get confirmation that they're promoted, they're going to play. But they've signed no one. They signed one lad from Celtic. They signed a couple of non-league players, as we call them, players from outside the PSL. And we know very little about what Polokwane City have to offer. I've watched about 8 sides in pre-season, but not Polokwane City. And then you've got Maritzburg United, who've signed this lad Yakubu Mohammed from Ashanti Gold in Ghana. They've made a couple of other astute signings, including Ashley Hartog from Supersport United. And I think that I would be betting on Maritzburg United to kick off their season with a win. But we know so little about Polokwane City that I suspect at 7-2 with World Sports Betting and 27-10 with LM Bookmaker, there might be an interesting bet to be had there.
You got to look for value in these kind of markets, and I just think that aside with they had a lot of turmoil, like you said before, they haven't signed anybody. I think they're fairly short at 7-2. I think Maritzburg United could be a good bet. I might jump on the bandwagon there and go for the experience.
Yeah, I mean, the other one that interests me, Brandon, is Ajax Cape Town, which I can't find at the moment. Yeah, there we are. Arrows, Golden Arrows, who I saw play last week at Wits. Not that impressive. Wits were a far superior team. And won this little mini tournament that I watched with Arrows, Platinum Stars and Free State Stars and Vets. I didn't think much of Arrows, but then I look at Ajax, and at Ajax it seems to me that everyone's just going one way. Everyone seems to be leaving Ajax. The Committee's brothers have left Ajax Cape Town. They nearly got relegated last season. Can we see them starting with a win at Golden Arrows in Lamontville? It's going to be a tough one, isn't it?
I don't know if home ground advantage is a big advantage in the PSL.
Interesting.
In terms of a betting league, I think a lot of South Africans follow their team around, and generally the sides have a lot of support in all different areas. So 12-10 Arrows at home. I don't know. I may be looking at the value. You can see there's a big discrepancy in the betting with regards to LM Bookmaker and World Sports Betting, where LM Bookmakers are putting Ajax up at nearly 5-2, and World Sports Betting a little bit more cautious, offering them up at 2-1. So. Yeah. Maybe World Sports Betting knows something that the rest of us don't, and they think it'll be a closer game than Lance Michael and LM Bookmaker do. So, in that situation, if you're looking at top odds from the point of view to make some money, and you do like Ajax, the bet would be Lance Michael, Alan Bookmaker, take the 24-10. But like you say, I mean, in terms of Ajax, don't they really look at, instead of signing players, they look at their youth and their youth structures? I don't know if that's a policy. Do they generally sign big names?
It all depends, and it depends what money they've got behind them. I'm struggling with the number of players that have been signed throughout the table, apart from Ajax. Ajax have this unbelievable youth structure. I spoke to the guy Hoffman, plays in goal for Wits now. He's got a bad ankle, and he came through that Ajax youth system, and he said like, every year they come up with 6 or 7, really good players, but only 2 or 3 of them actually are going to make it. And it's trying them out at the very top level in the PSL that sometimes weakens them, was the suggestion there, that they've got such a good youth system that the temptation to try all these young lads, from the Cape Flats that are well coached, but not all of them physically are going to make it in the PSL. So Ajax always a little bit difficult to gamble on.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, youth before experience. I don't know. That's Fergie's, a claim to fame. But I don't know in South Africa if it works that way. And I'd like you to direct your attention just a little bit to the outright betting in terms of the PSL market. I don't know if you just want to scroll down there.
Let's have a look there. Outright betting. PSL, Soccer International PSL, and then winner, right at the bottom.
That's correct.
That's the one. I'm looking at that now. Let's just have a look how those odds are going at the moment. You've got 4 sides quoted there, but you haven't got Wits quoted, I see. LM Bookmaker haven't got Wits on their little list.
Maritzburg United as well.
Yeah. No, I don't. I just think that Wits, with Gavin Hunt and with the quality of signings through his spine, and this is where we come back to the youth thing, Brandon. I looked at that Wits side last week who were playing good football. I had a couple of youngsters with me, and I was saying to them, look at the way they play, look at the movement off the ball. You've got Benjani, the experienced Zimbabwean up front, who Gavin says he will use sparingly because of his old legs. You've got Matthew Booth at the back, 9 feet tall, doesn't miss a header, very experienced. And the best signing of all, I think, watching him and then listening to Gavin talk about him, Manip Joseph's at the back for for Wits, come from Pirates. Manip Joseph's telling Matthew Booth at one point, mate, stop ball watching, Boothie, stop ball watching. I love all that kind of stuff, and Manip doesn't hold back. And Gavin said to me, I've never had Manip Josephs as one of my players before. He said, I'm really enjoying it. He said he's radio rental, which I think means mental in Cockney rhyming slang. He says a bit radio rental, but what a great goalkeeper, and he controls the back line. So we've got odds here under PSL on www.tokodds.com. We've got 4 teams quoted on the odds to win the league. Chiefs at 17-10, Pirates at 5-2, Sundowns 5-1, despite all their new signings and a very good tour of Ghana. Supersport under Kevin Johnson with again 6 or 7 very good signings, 15-2. We don't have Wits on the one that I'm looking at. We don't have Wits listed, but those would be the 5 for me. I think those 5 sides, Wits and the 4 that you've got up there.
Well, if you have a look at this market once again, you can see the discrepancy here between the betting. World Sports Betting, they have Chiefs up at 5-2 to win the tournament, whereas LM Bookmaker have Chiefs up at 17-10. Yeah. So the market's very unsure in terms of who's going to lift the PSL this year. If you want to quote on Wits, I mean, I can we'll get that guys up. We'll get that up for you immediately.
Cool.
But I can tell you now that World Sports Betting, if you guys want to get on the phone or go onto their website, if you guys are interested in Wits, they're offering 10-1 at the moment.
Right.
And then if you guys are interested in terms of Lance Michael or Alan Bookmaker, they're offering 12-1. Which I think is a little bit short. They've got a lot to do. They've got a new coach. I think maybe one of the old guard Chiefs or Pirates this season, and maybe even Sundowns. 5-1 might be a little bit of value.
Well, like I say, I mean, if Pitzer can sort out these 3 busloads of players that he's kind of got with him at the moment, and if he can get them into any kind of shape, then Sundowns at 5-1 look a good price. But if you ask me, just from what I've seen, because I know Gavin Hunt has got a new side, but he knew he was going to Wits for quite a long time before it happened. He had players in place. He lost Nazir Ali. He failed the medical. That was going to be one of his key signings. But he's still looking at players. I know that. I sat with him and I watched Amma Tux beat Perth Glory quite comprehensively 2-0 in front of no crowd at all at LC de Villiers last week, and sat speaking to Gavin the whole game. Gavin's got big plans. He knows South African players. He's been in the game, for years and years in this country and won the title 3 times at Supersport. I really do think that at 10 or 12-1, and my money would go straight on Wits University. Bidvest Wits, bang. Brian Joffe spending a lot of money. The great secret is that Brian Joffe, the chairman of Bidvest, and they're sponsoring Sunderland this season. If you look at Sunderland in the English League, they'll have Bidvest on their shirts this season. He's prepared to spend the money. Jose Ferreira, the ex-Supersport CEO, is now prepared to do the transfer deals and good contracts for players. Matthew Patterson in the midfield, the South African that went to England and came back, is an extraordinarily good player and makes up a lot of ground in the midfield. And I'm looking at Wits 10-1, an absolute steal, in my view. And I see Wits are just dropping on the bottom of my odds now as we speak. Brilliant.
Ask and you shall receive, and that's how the bookmakers operate. So you can get on the phone, get onto their website, and all the odds are available. You'll see Wits now up at 10-1 with Lance Michael, Alan Bookmaker offering 12-1.
Great stuff. Great stuff. I love it when it happens while I'm talking, mate. That's professionalism at its peak. While I'm talking, it drops on my screen.
Just a quick question. If I can divert you guys to the Bloemfontein Celtic Sundowns game.
Yeah.
Now, I know Bloem Celtic have a massive fan base. They're a daunting prospect at home, are they not?
Yes, that's one place where home advantage does seem to count. When you go down to Bloem and the City of Roses comes out with all its green and white Celtic fans, and Augusto, the chairman, he knows how important his fans are to him.
So, I mean, in that situation, if you guys want to just scroll down there and have a look at the price in terms of Bloemfontein Celtic versus Sundowns. Once again there, Bloemfontein Celtic, you can see a big discrepancy in the betting. LM Bookmaker offering 14-10. World Sports Betting going out 18-10. So once again, I mean, the bookies, and clearly the punters don't really know which way these games are going to go. I don't know, I think Bloem Celtic at home at 18-10 with World Sports Betting might be a bit of a value bet.
Finished top 8 last season.
Counts as a 12th man on that field. Yeah,
I went through my preview earlier in the week and did all the things that we just talked about. But you know what? I didn't really mention Bloemfontein Celtic enough. Clinton Larson, the coach, saying this season will be big for him, and he's got a couple of players there that maybe we haven't picked up on yet. So I like that. I like Bloemfontein Celtic might be a very good bet against Sundowns. Hell of a game. There's a lot of very good games to open the PSL, and we haven't got Drawlando Pirates playing this week in the PSL. They're in African Champions League action, so no odds on them, because again we don't really know what's going to happen there next to the Red Sea. So Brandon, absolutely brilliant to talk to you, and brilliant to go through these. We'll be going through these every week, and obviously as the English football and the Spanish and German football gets underway, we'll be talking about the odds on Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and of course Manchester United without Sir Alex Ferguson in weeks to come, Brandon.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's a fairly quiet time now for punters as the league starter, but a week and a half we'll have a lot to talk about, that's for sure, and there'll be a lot of good odds available on top odds, which the punters can take advantage of. Great stuff, mate. We've got the mole next, so we'll find out if Suarez, Bale and all those kind of guys, where they're going to be going, hopefully within the next month, I suppose, by the end of this month when the transfer window closes. Just a quick question there. I mean, 85 million, Tottenham surely can't say no. Well, that's exactly the point. Daniel Levy he could buy 3 top-class players for the price of Gareth Bale. He just needs to persuade the fans of that. There's been abuse about Levy on Twitter that we're going to talk about in a minute with the mole. But I think when you're starting to go over 85 million for a player up at the Cristiano Ronaldo world record level, I think Gareth Bale has to go to Real Madrid, play in the Champions League, which he won't with Spurs. And obviously, being a Welshman, he doesn't get to play in the World Cup very often. 1958 was the last time Wales played in the World Cup. So for Gareth Bale, I think Real Madrid gives him that kind of everything that he needs to take his career on a huge step further. Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, the prices on Tottenham then, will go out if he does leave. Yeah. So, if he does leave, maybe the punter needs to jump on Tottenham pending 3 new signings. Yeah, well, I'm sure they will. Okay, Brandon, brilliant stuff, mate. That's www.tokodds.com, the people who back bollocks. And we'll be back next week talking sports betting with Brandon, and as we get closer to the overseas seasons and looking back on the first week of PSL football.
This is Balls Visual Radio.